I'm Thomas Lancaster, and welcome to this webinar, Taking Action Against Contract Cheating. Please do feel free to go ahead and post in the chat. I'm watching that to answer the questions. The slides will be available on my SlideShare account later today. We haven't circulated them in advance. And I don't think we have a live Spanish translation today. Certainly not from me, because that's not one of my languages, but perhaps someone like maybe Jean could help with that afterwards there, but I'll try and make this as accessible to everyone as I can, because really my aim here today is to get you excited about the International Day of Action Against Contract Cheating. It's happening 1 month from today on the 21st of October, there, which is a Wednesday, to see how you can get involved with that event, which is now in its 5th year there. So, as the introduction says, I've been working now for 20 years in academic integrity since my PhD days, based at Imperial College London in the United Kingdom. I speak a lot about academic integrity and contract cheating, perhaps because along with Robert Clark, I helped to, well, we coined the term contract cheating, which is really one of these terms that is used now all over the world. It may not have a brilliant translation in all languages, but it's there. And while this webinar is going on, I'm happy to encourage you to go ahead and tweet. There are some handles and hashtags on the screen. I'm at Dr. Lancaster. So if you see something really interesting or hear something interesting and you want to tweet about it, do go ahead. At TweetCAI, which will get this to the International Center of Academic Integrity as well, and hashtag contract cheating. So there's a few tweets there too, or a few things to use for your Twitter handles. Our questions for discussion today, there this afternoon, I nearly said this afternoon, but I saw somebody just posted it was 2 in the morning in Australia, so thank you for staying up late. There, really, why are we taking action about contract cheating? Why are we caring about this problem and challenge to education right now? I've mentioned the International Day of Action Against Contract Cheating, but what exactly is it? Who can get involved? Who should get involved? What kind of activities take place during that day? Of course, we're all in the midst of massive change now in terms of education. What do we do in light of COVID-19? I suspect, depending where you're around the world, we at my institution are busy getting ready for the start of term with pretty much everything being taught online there, and it's a massive change to our processes. And how are we going to use the DOA to raise awareness about contract cheating and to promote academic integrity as well? Equally important part, that side of the coin there. So why are we taking action? Because quite simply, contract cheating is out there. This isn't anything that's new. It's things that students know about there. And I noticed John's sharing quite an old version of my slides. They may be useful, but bear in mind they have changed a bit since the version I put up a few weeks ago. There, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to send the latest version. But what we have is adverts like this that students can see. The industry there to help you in your time of need, really saying to students, are you struggling? We are the support service you need to help you to do your essays and assignments there. And we're going to help you in light of COVID-19. We've reduced the price of our services by 50%. The bit I really like at the top, don't let coronavirus affect your grades, know how experts are fighting for you. And this is the kind of advert that students are exposed to all the time. They might get these sent to their university email addresses. They might get these promoted to them through social media. They might be looking for legitimate support and end up seeing adverts like this. But ghostwriting companies, essay mills, contract cheating services, they are all out there trying to take advantage of our students. And of course, we do not want our students, regardless what we think of these services, we don't want our students to use them or to fall for what sometimes can be very deceptive levels of advertising. And there is a message we have to pass back to students that essentially says, if you use a service like this, you are committing contract cheating. There. If you get a service to do your assignments, you're contract cheating. There. And just answering John in the chat, yeah, you can, if people send questions directly to me, this is the organizers in the chat, I will see them. I have that window open at the side of the screen as well there, or save them for the end, because we're going to leave plenty of time for the discussion, because one thing I'm really keen to do today is to get everybody to share your ideas about what we do as well. But what we don't want people to do is to pay somebody else to do their work for them, or the equally common alternative, which is just to get their friend or their family member to be the person doing their work, because we want our awards to go to the students who deserve them, not another random person who's been involved in this chain of people along the way. So to me, there are several messages to communicate back to our institutions and to our colleagues and to our students about the challenges of contract cheating. That, first of all, that if a student doesn't do their own work and they get someone else to do it for them, that student is missing out on learning. And that's fine. They may think, okay, I skipped one assignment, I can do the next one. But of course, by missing that assignment, the next assignment is very difficult. And all the assignments build on each other. So a student then becomes dependent on contract cheating in order to successfully complete their course there. So that's the first of our major challenges about it, is missing learning, the kind of thing we don't want. One of the biggest ones to me is how this is unfair to other students. One student contract cheats, the other students do the work. They feel that one of their peers is getting a degree or a qualification they don't deserve. It's bringing the side down, and you'll find a lot of students feel incredibly strongly about this, that other students shouldn't be cheating there. So we want to avoid this, and as soon as a few students start to bring the side down, you have that effect of skyrocketing. The word gets around, people on the course are cheating and getting away with it. Well, why don't we do that too? And everything blossoms from there and grows there. And then those words also get out to employers and to companies we work with as universities and say, well, is this degree of value because the students cheat? And these are quite wide questions we have to think about. An area that really worries me is how vulnerable students are once they get suckered in to contract cheating. And I will say suckered in because sometimes students listen to the way that these firms are promoting themselves, and they do pass the message across that, yes, you could do this for yourself, we're just helping you. You're very busy with your part-time job, you're struggling with COVID. But once these firms get a student's name, their email address, their telephone number, whatever it might be, the students are vulnerable and they can be exploited by the contract cheating industry. They will keep contacting the students again and again and again, saying things like, we've helped you before, let us help you again. You got a good mark, didn't you? We know you liked us, here's a discount code. We'll give you money off your next order. And even things like, have you got any friends who need help? You refer 3 friends to us, you get your next essay for free. And again, it's got this sort of ballooning effect going out there through the industry as well. The social consequences do go beyond the student themselves. So this is not just a victimless crime. Here's a recent publication by Zenith Khan and colleagues, which is well worth a look, breaking down some of the wider social consequences that can stem from contract cheating. Some of them are quite severe, and when a student really finds themselves in a hole because they've ended up in this position, then for them, there are not that many solutions that are desirable there. But An area that's often not discussed is that contract cheating can continue from a course to when they go into employment. So we do hear of people who have had to pay someone else to do work for them as a student, and they think that's acceptable when they go into a job. And maybe that is if they're a business student and they want to be an entrepreneur and that's their dream in life, but most people want to know these things. So the source for social consequences grid should show the bottom of the screen there, and it's in the Journal of Academic Ethics. So have a look at that one there. And for me, I care as well because there are certainly firms and individuals now who are using the opportunity of contract cheating to extort students and to blackmail students. So this is an example that a student who was being blackmailed, well, a friend of a student who was being blackmailed, sent to me. Of a very realistic looking letter. It goes on for longer than this. There are more stages than just this one letter, allegedly from the Department of Education to the firm, telling them they had to disclose details of all their customers. And then this firm was telling the student, well, if you send us a bit more money, then we won't disclose your name, we'll leave it off the records there. And they send out this quite convincing looking document. It's not convincing if you read it and you look in a bit more detail and you check the quality of the English. And also you look at things like the addresses registered with this company, which just don't exist. But students will sometimes fall for this, or these kind of scams wouldn't go out there. And we've seen this type of attempts of blackmail now even being sent out to students who haven't contract cheated at all, just ones who've gone on social media and expressed frustration with essays or said things which looks like they might be considering cheating. And then there are ruthless individuals out there who will take that as a message. This student probably has contract cheated, so we'll try it with them and see what kind of response we get. And so it is a discussion we have to have with students about, do you know if you use these firms, you're putting yourself at risk? And what would you do if a firm tried to blackmail you? So it is a very dangerous and deceptive industry worth hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And that's why people are doing this. So what is the solution? Why are we all here at this webinar today? Well, there are many pieces to the solution. I'm just going to focus in on one of them, but that is the 5th International Day of Action Against Contract Cheating, coming up on the 21st of October 2020. So 1 month from the day we're recording. And I say it's only one of many other pieces, but one great opportunity for that day is we will be able to discuss how all the pieces of the puzzle fit together. And this is where we're at 5 years into this event. Contract cheating has been going on for more than 5 years. It happened before 2006 when Robert Clark and I first wrote about it. We've got examples dating back to at least the 1950s of adverts in newspapers offering work for students. The big difference is now it's so easy for a student to connect with a contract cheating firm anywhere in the world, or just as regularly for the firm to connect with a student, or for a student just to ask someone else for help. And as a result of coronavirus, this perfect storm has come together that contract cheating this year is at record levels because students aren't often in their own institution getting support there. 2016, we held the first International Day of Action Against Contract Cheating. So we're now 5 years in. So a nice milestone to have hit right at the time of these educational changes. And we're looking for what we should do in 2020 and beyond as the educational system around the world adapts. So this is very much a growing event. These are the numbers of institutions around the world who have signed up every year. Started off with just 22 in 2016, up to 117 in 2019, and hopefully many more this year. This is why we're encouraging you, if you can, to sign up on behalf of your institution. Who can get involved with this? Well, really anyone who wants to. anyone who wants to promote academic integrity and thinks that contract cheating is not the way forward for education. So traditionally, it's academic institutions, universities, colleges who have been involved with this day. If you're one of those, we encourage you to sign up. You might be a student body within your institution, a student union. That's fine, you can sign up. We really love it when it's the students who take control of this, because to me, the students are the most important people in driving academic integrity forward. We're seeing as well lots of quality agencies around the world taking part now. So for instance, the one in the UK would be the Quality Assurance Agency, the main one, but there are many others around the world taking part as well. We've got commercial providers as well, whether that's commercial education providers, or whether it's commercial firms offering solutions to contract cheating and plagiarism there. But one thing we're encouraging you to think about as well is you don't have to be a university to take part. You don't have to be a college, because academic integrity for success needs to start from the very youngest age groups, dating back to people when they first go to school, because so many people learn their habits based on what is taught in the classroom. And what's acceptable? Is it acceptable at school to just take your answers to a piece of homework from the internet and hand that in? If it is, then that's promoting bad habits that go through the rest of academic life. And then no wonder why these problems happen at university level there. But also, how do we model academic integrity in everything we do? How do we see teachers as the great role models that they really should be, and that all the teachers I know aspire to be? And you can certainly take part as an individual. Perhaps you can't sign up as an individual on the main sign-up page, but you can certainly join in all the way through there. Sue has asked a great question in the chat that we'll probably come back to later, because that would take me on a big digression, but do think about that one by all means there. And one of the things the International Centre for Academic Integrity is doing, and that those of us who are on the organising group for the Day of Action, whether it's the staff organising committee, and we've also this year very pleased for the first time to have a student organising committee, one of the things we're very keen to do as well is to have online opportunities to get involved during the day, because we know so many of you are teaching either in part or in whole online this year. So even if you haven't got activity on campus, you can still get involved. I want to show you some of the kind of activities that went on site last year. They might be relevant to you. We'd love to see activity going on, being tweeted about, being posted on Instagram again this year on site. But if not, perhaps you can model these online as well. We've had a lot of success through the years with this type of whiteboard declaration. People standing up with a whiteboard saying why they don't contract cheat, or sometimes saying why they work with academic integrity, or another equally important ethical concept there, and taking a photo with it. Just sends out that powerful message that students and also staff can be involved with this, and very supportive of the day. And we've got the University of Buffalo Bull there who is joining in and trying to improve as well. And yeah, all kinds of interesting things. Thompson River University in Canada as well. You'll never learn if you don't try yourself. There are loads of these. We may be able to do these online as well if they're not possible in person. Some universities have gone further and had photo frames, like Marshall College there as well. So it's very, very similar type of concept, but actually putting yourself in the frame. And again, that's something that's very easy to replicate online with virtual photo frames, something to think about. Quite a lot of this is about being creative, getting your best marketing students involved, far more creative than me, I know, there. Wonderful board games being produced. Here's Dori in Athens, Greece. Producing these games to think about integrity. We think about this idea now a lot in education about gamification that can be used, getting the fun aspect across. Information is really important because I don't know if anyone is here today who hadn't heard about contract cheating before today, or hadn't really thought about it, but this is a great opportunity to share that message. It can be on physical posters, but it can just be on your university's social media or through your university's student union channels there, or through emails to students or in the classroom. This is the type of example from CQ University in Australia, where they're talking particularly about some of the risks involved. There's definitely a whole side of this about risks there. For international students that mentioned there, they could be forced to leave Australia. So there could be huge financial implications of cheating if you get caught, which of course the firms who are helping students to cheat will not tell them about. At the same time, there's also a positive side of academic integrity which we can promote alongside this. This has always been one of my favorites, the Graffiti Wall. They've run this at Modern for a few years now, because students seem to love drawing and defacing things. I think some universities have used spray paint as well. And again, a graffiti wall is something that you can do online too. But if you look at that, you see lots of great statements hidden away on that wall, the kind of powerful student messages that we want to promote. Truth, integrity, success. Cheating is a choice. Not a mistake. Well, I mean, I might say it is a mistake as well, but that possibly lost a bit in the way that's done. Cheating will lead to ill. There's all kinds of other ones you can look at on that photo there. Again, these are the kind of things being posted on Twitter. Doree had this great idea of students taking a fingerprint and putting it in this larger fingerprint, pledging their individuality and uniqueness. Really important there, getting that message across to them as well, and students wanting to be seen as individuals. All kinds of ways to get students involved in discussion. University of Calgary, just bringing students up to desk. You can do these things quite cheaply as well to go with this. They've also got their wheel to spin there. Lots of universities seem to like to give away sweets. You can also give away fruit if you want to be slightly more healthy. I guess you could, yeah, all kinds of things you give away if you want to get enough people around your table for that. And I mentioned students getting involved is really important. Here's another example from Doree of their acting students, because one thing we don't talk about often enough in integrity and when we discuss contract cheating is how much this can differ at a subject level there. So how important is individuality to our acting students? What would have happened if Shakespeare wasn't individual? What would have happened if Shakespeare took his plays from other sources? Well, I mean, that's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek quote, that one, but there you go. But bringing our students in, you know, I've seen some very great videos going on from different institutions as well. They've shared, their students have shared, which are available. Some universities love to give away these great gifts. Chaps Don't Cheat from DePage. Nice badges, wear them with pride as well. And Wollongong there in Dubai, the sort of offshoot of the Australian campus, have get students to pledge and be integrity ambassadors. And they've sort of made this into a whole academic integrity week. It can be more than a day. If the day I mentioned falls really badly from you, then don't let this put you off doing an event at all. You could go the day before, the day after. There will still be lots of activity going on. If you really don't want to use the message of contract cheating, use the message of academic integrity. October the 21st, incidentally, is also a Global Ethics Day. Just happened, well, I can't say happens to fall on the same day. It's quite a conscious choice about when this has been set. So you can tie into that as well for that. Now, as I mentioned, the challenge this year is that in many cases we will have to transition online. This has been quite tricky, the way things have gone, to suddenly move quite quickly, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't run this day. I've just put a few ideas that came to me about how we can make these activities work online. Many of them are just moving the same kind of activities from offline to online there, because hopefully we're still connecting with our students in class. So we can discuss contract cheating in class, discuss what are the risks that are being taken by engaging in this habit, discuss the benefits of learning for yourself. See what the students think. Some of their views may surprise you in this. I've sort of mentioned as we went through some ideas like online graffiti walls, online photo frames, online pledges. They can work very well. You can use that for a bit of opportunity for university branding as well at the same time. A really important activity in this kind of day is not to just think about this from a cheating side and an academic dishonesty side, is to think about how we can signpost the support that is available. What should you do if you're a student and you're struggling? Who should you go and see? What about if you just don't know how to write? Who is the support on campus there? What if firms have contacted you and offered to do your essay for you? What should you say? Should you report it to anyone? What happens if another student, if a friend of yours tells you they've paid someone to do their assignment? Should you tell anyone? What will happen to you if you do that? All these kind of interesting multi-level discussions you can have as part of this process. And do join in and just promote the online activity going on. So if you see other individuals posting about the day, you can retweet them, you can comment on them, you can say that looks like you're having a really interesting and useful day there. People like to know what they're doing is having an impact. We want those hashtags trending. Can we get the pledges shared online? It's something we're sort of still putting together some ideas for, ready for the day, but this is a very standard type of declaration. But as I mentioned, you can use this for branding. You can change the message if you want to change that. We are going to have slightly different hashtags this year because we're really trying to push the integrity message rather than the cheat message, which you see just in the corner of the screen as well. And what will work at your institution? What will work in your subject area? Every institution is different. I've visited a lot of institutions around the world and I know the challenges are there. I know resourcing is a challenge. I know getting access to computers can be a challenge there. I know in some cases there are a lot of students from their age group at university and everybody wants to succeed, because if they don't succeed, then the jobs they're left with are not particularly desirable. So what can we do surrounding that there? Okay. And I have sort of hinted on this, but publicity is something that we do okay with every year. Sometimes we can do better, but it's a really great opportunity to talk about your institution and say, we are taking action. We are promoting academic integrity. Connect with your local journalists. IKEA are preparing a media kit as well to help engage local journalists that you can tap into, which will be really useful. And you can tie into COVID as well. Easiest way to get a news story out there at the moment is somewhere mention COVID-19 and all the changes to education and how it's improved student experience as well. Finally, I think something that I have to announce there, it's sort of been leaked, so some of you may know about it. Our friends at the European Network for Academic Integrity mentioned this in their newsletter a few days too early, but we are planning 20 hours of live broadcasts from around the world to tie in with the International Day of Action. 20 live in 20 global conversations about contract cheating. I can tell you it took a long time to agree on a name, but that's a long version. The short version, I think sometimes we just say 2020 there. But we have 20 different organizations from around the world participating. We have universities, we've got quality agencies and sector bodies. We've got students involved, all sharing their experience, sharing on what's going on locally for them, capturing different aspects of contract cheating. So I have focused today very much on what the Day of Action is. I can answer, because I've worked in this area for so long, questions pretty widely across this, but really we're interested in getting the word about what's happening elsewhere and what could work in your institution. So we're not quite in a position to announce the whole schedule for that, but I've seen some of the ideas and some really exciting ideas, and it's particularly about discussion. This is going to be very social media friendly. We're planning to put this through Facebook Live, so you can share the links, you can join in, you can type things as well. We're going to have discussions going on there. And for me, even if your institution can't take part, you can join in. Even if you can't run events locally, but your institution is taking part, you can refer people to this. And we'll have some events more aimed at students, some more aimed at staff as well. So a nice variety of activity going on that day. So do join us, do watch out for the email from IKEA, which will give you the schedule and a lot more details about how to join in. But for me, this 20 Live in 20 is going to run for the first time, and really exciting opportunity there as well. So at this point, really happy to turn this over to discussion. I can see a few things going on in both the chat window and the Q&A window. I'm trying to monitor both of them, but do please put up any ideas you have for things that might work in your institution. Things you've done in previous years that you want to share as well are brilliant too there. And of course, just to share the integrity dog from Jevry in American College of Greece, and say, please do sign up. That is the link, academicintegrity.org, Day Against Contract Cheating. I'm sure one of the organizers will put that in the chat as well if you've not been signed up already, so you can go straight to that link too. But do sign up. I will stop sharing my screen so we can talk.
Thank you, Thomas.
Yeah, and thank you, Amanda.
I think what we'll do is we'll start with the questions in the Q&A section. So we had a question from Josh about how do you think contract cheating should be addressed in academic integrity policies and procedures?
Yeah, Josh, really, let's say quite a wide question there, because we need to look at this from several different angles. So one of the important ones is to make sure we mention contract cheating, or whatever term works in your language, in your institution, in the policies and procedures, because for a long time in many institutions, then we try and treat these as cases of plagiarism, and that's very hard if we don't have the original source document there. I think we have to have this treated as quite a serious offense, particularly for students who are repeat offenders. What should you do the very first time a student cheats? That will vary opinions there from university to university, institution to institution. Some people say really hard line. Some people say give them more education and give them a second chance. But to me, that's another reason why it's useful to have that discussion in advance. Another thing that you might want to think about as part of the process, what happens if a student comes to you and says, I did cheat before, but now I regret it. I contract cheated, I regret it, either because I've had a change of heart or because somebody is trying to blackmail me. Is the student then guilty? What happens as well if a former student has graduated and you find out they cheated during their course, or if they become the person who is writing assignments for current students, as we know happens. So all kinds of things just to think about these type of different scenarios, and is there an answer for them in the regulations and in the policies as well.
Thank you, Thomas. We have a few more questions that have popped up in the Q&A, and I know there are a couple that came out of the chat. We'll deal with one more in the Q&A first, and then maybe we can look at one or two from the chat, which I can prompt you with, Thomas. So
sure.
The Q&A, it said, I worry about promoting a day of contract cheating because of the risk of introducing students to contract cheating that may have not known about this quote unquote opportunity. Can you comment on this?
I would say there are very few students around the world who don't know about contract cheating. They might not know about it through that name, but the adverts appear on universities all the time. So we see examples of Facebook groups for new students getting ready for induction at university, and contract cheating services get inside that group, or they set up fake groups. When we're on campus, we see services getting on campus and putting adverts up around the campus. I was in Eastern Europe and Southeast Europe a couple of years ago, and there were contract cheating notices on the notice boards, and the staff just walked past them and didn't think anything of them because they were so used to seeing those kind of adverts out there. So I can tell you, students know these things happen. So having that discussion with students, to me, really isn't a risk. So it's discussed in the media regularly, and students are much savvier than sometimes we give them credit for.
Okay, thanks for that. We have one that kind of switches gears a little bit and talks about academic integrity's connection with quality assurance. So since academic integrity is a core piece of quality assurance, how should it be modeled throughout a learner's education?
Oh, that's a wide open question. I think it has to start from the start from when people are young. So my friend Zenith Khan often gives an example of essentially of when things like science fairs and students take in, or let's say school pupils take in the science project they've made. And these projects can be so elaborate that they couldn't possibly have been made by the pupils, but the teachers say, well done, you've done a really great job there. And the teachers and the parents have to have that discussion that it's okay to get help, but especially at that age group, but we need some acknowledgement that you didn't do this yourself, and we need to know which bits did you work on and what was your idea, because if we don't channel that from an early age, then this just continues and people think this is quite acceptable there. So it's all about building this up, and then when students arrive at university, they may not be perfect, but at least they're working from a good base. And then we make sure they have the academic content, they know what help is available, and they know what to do. And the other thing perhaps we need to just be careful about is so often on our courses, then we all assume that someone else is teaching students how to write or how to reference or what to do if you're stuck. But actually nobody does it, the students never learn, and they end up going to these services that we don't want them to. So it's just trying to avoid that.
Thank you. The next one is, I just want to make a comment that came as a suggestion from Pilar Valdez. She suggests, or he suggests, I'm sorry if I get the gender wrong, can we design a new activity that would include or invite parents to participate with their sons and daughters with a challenge to do something like a TikTok video? So I just want to let Pilar know that I've passed that on to the International Planning Committee, and it's something, I guess, food for thought for future activities of what you can do. Even people could adapt that for their own institutions if they wanted to.
Yeah, I saw that flag go past. I'm glad, because I was waiting to come back to that one.
Yeah, that's
because I think that's a great idea, especially because students like TikTok. Now, of course, if you're in the United States, then that could be completely illegal to use within a short period of time. But students do definitely like very short, very engaging videos. And we need to engage with students using the type of social channels they want there. And of course, just because this isn't being adapted by every institution doesn't mean you can't do it locally if that's what works with your students, or you can try it out and please do report back how it went, because I suspect this won't be the last year we have to run the International Day of Action, and we want to improve things every year.
Agreed. It would be really nice if people could use the hashtags as well, so we could keep track of some of these new and different things that people have tried. Okay, another question in the Q&A box from Lucia. We're dealing with contract cheating, even when there's no payment. Some deans at my school think that this type of contract cheating is not as serious as the one in which students actually pay. Is it? I don't think so, but I would like to have a solid argument about it.
Well, I mean, it's a very difficult one to judge because you don't always know if a student is paid for a piece of work. All you know is if they didn't do it for themselves there. So I think you have to treat them as equally serious, because the challenge otherwise is you have to start trying to judge things like intent there. And that's the same with other types of breaches of academic misconduct or breaches of academic integrity. If a student's plagiarized, it's often hard to know, did they do that intentionally? Did they know that? Did they do it because they don't know how to reference correctly? And so to me, I don't think you should draw a line between the two types of cheating. I think they're still both contract cheating there. You could certainly make an argument either way. You certainly can't say that exchanging money means something was done accidentally. At least I don't tend to accidentally give money to people. Most of the time I know when I've done it. So there is a possible argument there, but I think it opens up all kinds of challenges and potentially things like student legal challenges as well, if they know people are being treated differently because they contract cheat in a different way.
Okay. The next question is, how do you identify if a student has used contract cheating other than by comparing what they wrote in a previous post or paper that doesn't match the form structure of the new paper?
Massive question that way, or that one. You certainly can check their writing style, check the words they use, because everyone has got their own writing style. There are tools now being developed using stylometric analysis or linguistic analysis to help with that. You can look in things like the document properties and see if anything strange occurs there, such as a very short editing time that suggests the student might have copied this from another file to their file. That's always a possibility. You can look for unusual references, ones they wouldn't have access to locally, or unusual ideas. So they're talking about something you've not taught in class, and they're not likely to be the kind of people, they're not likely to have been able to learn about this or have gone that far beyond the norm. There can be another indicator. And another thing I would encourage you to do is to consider your type of assignment so that contract cheating is not so beneficial. So for instance, one of my favorite types of assignment is that a student produces something in their own time, but then they do an extension within a timed controlled environment, within an exam setting, within a practical test setting, just to double check their understanding, so they don't benefit from contract cheating by doing that. You know, I could talk for hours for the answer to that question. And if you're at the South American conference on academic integrity on Thursday and Friday, that's actually the subject of my keynote. And that probably isn't the official title of the conference, so somebody do please include that. But it is virtual, and there's a lot of good speakers from around the world, and it is connected with the International Centre of Academic Integrity, so hopefully the plug there is okay.
Okay, this question is about whistleblowing. How do you think whistleblowing service would work for students who are concerned about people on their course who are contract cheating? So I guess maybe that's instructors, what a whistleblowing service might look like.
Well, unfortunately, you open up a can of worms. That's the big problem, is what happens if students make false allegations against other students, which of course may be an offense in itself there. So it depends how anonymous you want this whistleblowing to be. It may be legitimate concerns, in which case you should hear them out. Likewise, some universities have whistleblowing policies which let people from outside the university raise concerns. And you can see things like contract cheating services contacting universities and saying, do you know this student cheated 2 years ago? Or do you know their credit card payment bounced? Or whatever it might be. So there are all kinds of risks with doing that, but I think deep down it's probably something that we have to do to give people both inside and outside universities confidence about the academic integrity of our systems.
Right, we have a question here about how to document or prove contract cheating, and I think you mentioned that already about ways to spot it even when you don't have a comparison document. So I don't think we'll dive too much deeper into that.
Yeah, and Jenny's put a link as well in the chat to one of the Australian guides that has a number of pointers to look for. So have a look at that one. There's a few other ones out there, but that's quite useful. Yeah.
All right, another question here from Rachel is, based on your research with students, what do you think is the most effective deterrent? Is it altering them or making them aware of blackmail, or is it academic consequences, or do we appeal to them on the basis of integrity?
Unfortunately, risk and consequences always wins out over integrity, because people start to care and listen if you talk about cheating, and if you talk about integrity, then you won't interest as many people. You'll probably get people who are more engaged when they listen to you, but you won't interest as many of them. But ideally, we really have to try and strike a bit of a balance, so we can use the discussion about consequences to lead to a discussion about integrity. And it's something we should model throughout our system. We should model it in the way we write our lectures, the way we talk to students, the way we mark work, and show them this is what we are doing. We expect the same from you too.
This was a question that was in the chat, and it goes a little bit about, what if parents are on board with cheating? How do you convince students to do it the right way anyway? Any comment on parental involvement?
Really tough. There was a major essay writing firm in the UK about 10 years ago. They put out a news story, a press release, got picked up on the media, and said something like, do you know parents are buying their children essays for Christmas? And it definitely happens, because of course parents, who has got the most vested interest in their children succeeding in university? Who's the one who's supported them throughout their life, who's probably got money involved in it? So yes, so parents do unfortunately sometimes encourage this, but we need to be looking at ways to have this discussion beyond students and beyond universities, and that's bringing the parents in. That is, it's not the easiest one to do. I don't know anyone who's cracked it yet, but I think that's something we have to work towards, because of course many parents, like the rest of us, feel incredibly strongly against cheating as well, but it does happen, and sometimes parents do support it.
And I really like Pyler's idea of getting students and their parents engaged in the TikTok type of video. So that might be a nice way to bridge the conversation.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. Yeah, getting more people involved. They can tell them they can be social media stars if they take part in these videos.
Okay, we have a few more questions left, if you're game to keep going for a little while longer.
Yeah, I can go another. Yeah, we started late. Let's go for a few more.
Okay, so the next question, can you talk about what we are seeing more with the online course of a student paying another student to take the entire course? We found this very hard to find, manage, and enforce. Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, well, a student paying another student to take an entire course, or a student could just be paying anyone to take the entire course. It definitely happens, or companies set up advertising things like, we do your course for you, and saying we will do every assignment all the way through. You never need to log in. And there are certainly companies as well who specialize in particular courses, because a lot of online programs are set up that you work your way through the same set of exercises every time, the same set of multiple choice questions to get through. And once you've done it once, it's incredibly fast to do it again. So there has been a bit of work on this from some of the big online universities, and they are doing things like IP address tracking. So where has a student logged in from there? They are doing a certain amount of identity verification. So can you go in front of your webcam at a certain time? Where can you go from that? They are doing things like tracking typing patterns, or looking for any, what kind of time do you normally log in, and just trying to see some of these things. It's not an easy solution though, and I think it does definitely involve the more one-to-one involvement you can have with students to get to know them, to find out who the person is, the better. And of course, making sure that the person from the very first engagement is the one you want, and not the imposter.
Okay, Lisa's posed a question here about some instructors not wanting to tell their students that they can look at the document's properties. So what do you recommend? Should instructors tell students that they can track a document's author?
I think that, I mean, all these things depend how tech savvy a student is. And we have a lot of very tech savvy students who have grown up on computers all the time. They know these things they can do. They often run rings around their instructors. So quite often when we tell them things, then actually we're not telling them anything they didn't know. I tend to get suspicious when there is no information in the properties of a document, because it means it's been doctored in some way. There are also more advanced type of forensic computing things you can do, which I'm not going to go into here today, but yeah, there are, yes. But if you look at deep inside the files, then you can often find more of an edit history to them as well. But there are challenges with writing. There are all kinds of new ones we're seeing, like the artificial intelligence tools that are coming along to help students to perfect and change their writing, or that will automatically correct their mistakes. We've got things that are coming along built into Microsoft Word, built into Google Docs. We've got incredibly powerful technology now for generating text that looks like it could be written by a human. And you can see the standard of some of this this work that's generated by machine learning there. So we will have all kinds of challenges to work on in that area. So to me, it does come down to the idea that there's going to have to be a certain amount of monitoring students, unfortunately, or rethinking our type of assessments. And I guess there's one message about assessment design to take away is, don't have a course which just involves students writing essay after essay after essay, because they're blatantly there, ready and waiting for a student to outsource them.
Okay, we have 3 questions left in the Q&A, and I think hopefully we'll have time to answer all 3 of them. The first one being is that sometimes professors do not have a detailed academic integrity policy for their courses in their course syllabi. So from a student perspective, it can be hard to know whether an act is considered contract cheating or cheating in general when these policies are unclear. What is a respectful way of approaching a professor about this, and whether they, the student, could help improve it in order to minimize integrity issues?
Okay, so I'm going to guess that you're asking that from the point of view of a student. I mean, a lot of this comes down to how are assessments designed in general, and what quality is the assessment information that's given to students. Because I've seen throughout my career a lot of very badly written assessments where you don't really know quite what you're meant to focus in on. Where are the marks? What are the most important aspects of this assessment? And sometimes where it's a bit contradictory. So you can perhaps frame it in that wider message of asking questions. You can perhaps talk to somebody like your head of department and say, it would be really great if we had a consistent format for assessments. Could everyone perhaps work from the same template? And then that template would have a statement about academic integrity in there. You can ask the instructors in different classes to just give, in their first class, a bit of a reminder about academic integrity, what it means in that class, because sometimes it's not clear what can you use, for instance, as common knowledge in this class, what do you have to cite and reference, and that can change from the view constraint can change, unfortunately, from instructor to instructor, and it can change from year to year as you get more advanced in your course as well, and try and raise it that way. But and then the other thing, if you have things like staff student forums or student committees where you propose ideas, then try and propose these as general ideas for everyone to adapt, rather than aiming it at a particular instructor, because they sometimes might feel singled out. And that obviously isn't the intention. I appreciate that's why you're asking the question. Because it's probably just, often it's just something they've never thought about until you sort of have that that wider discussion and they get involved with that wider discussion.
Okay, the next question will depend really on where you live in the world and what the legal jurisdiction is, but are there legal repercussions for companies and individuals offering contract cheating to deter them from it?
Well, Amanda, you just answered that question.
Sorry, Thomas.
No, that's all right. That it depends where you are in the world. So Australia recently brought in a new law to make providing contract cheating services illegal. There are other countries who either have those laws or they're in the process of trying to get them enacted as well. And in that case, yes, if you're a provider, then in some cases you can receive large fines, you can go to jail. Sometimes these can be a bit controversial as well as to, well, what happens if it's your mum who's helped you with your assignment? Where do you draw the line? But realistically, you can expect the interpretation to be more towards the commercial providers or the people making money off the backs of students there. But yes, it definitely happens. We don't have any really good evidence yet about how successful these policies are, these laws are, because often a student, and this is a whole area of my research I've not gone into really today, but often a student will hire a writer who isn't in the same country as them, in which case the laws are different and enforcement can be difficult. So laws send a message out to students that what they're doing just isn't acceptable. Obviously send a message out to the people who are doing the work for students, but they're not the main solution to this problem, but they do help to keep the dialogue open and help things moving along.
Great, and this is our last and final question, and it's fairly fitting because it asks about or touches on COVID-19 and the pandemic that we're all in worldwide. So we've seen a rise in this behavior during COVID-19. I am at a highly competitive university and students tell us that they think that everyone else is doing this and then they need to do it to keep up. How do we address this?
Yeah, major problem at the moment. I've had some students working on academic integrity related projects with me over the summer, and that's certainly something we've found from the data we've been working with, showing us that certainly the amount of contract cheating has gone up as a result of COVID-19 or during this period. And I think really it's quite evident from the way these services are advertising to students. They've ramped up their advertising, their marketing around COVID-19, to the type of questions we're seeing posted online as well. To things like online exams, where we're seeing a lot of exam questions posted online, far more in volume than in previous years. So it has definitely happened. At the same time, it's worth telling students that if you post your questions online, then of course we can see them as well. We can sometimes search for them. There are services like Chegg, massive, worth a few $1 billion there, which is on one level a student support site, on another level somewhere students can post questions, they get answers with all kinds of exam questions posted on there. We have seen instructors asking Chegg who were the students and Chegg supplying the information under their so-called academic integrity policy. And then students going on Twitter and other social media up in arms because they had not realized that they'd made an agreement which said their information could be shared with their instructors. So it is possible to say there are various means to get access to this information. I think it is thinking about online assessments as well, because unfortunately, completely unsupervised exams are susceptible to cheating for many reasons, whether it's contract cheating, whether it's colluding with other students, and actively looking for those things when they're being marked. There are online proctoring, online invigilation, options out there. Students do think they're invasive. When you have a camera pointed at you, it can be. I try not to be too conscious of the camera pointed at me there, but does happen. If you so much as look away to the side, then you have somebody watching you remotely, or an AI system, AI in the artificial intelligence sense system, which is saying, you looked away, are you looking at your notes? And so these things can be difficult for students. So I think part of that is having a conversation with students saying, how do we ensure you're acting with integrity? We need to do this because otherwise you're going to be the generation who has studied, and employers will say that your rewards are not as valuable as they were the year before. So bring students into that discussion, and likewise get them involved in the day of action. And thank you to all the students who are here with me and with us today who already are involved, because you're the people who I think can best take this forward. But it is definitely about that discussion, and hopefully we have, certainly at my institution, we were very much thrown into online exams with days of notice. It was a very long weekend with everything online for my department, but we've had a bit more time to plan for the next batch. So things will be different, the type of assessment will be different, and hopefully they will be suitable for giving students a good learning experience and accurately assessing the knowledge of the student who completed the work there.
Thank you so much, Thomas. As per usual, your expertise is just invaluable, and it's always a pleasure to hear you speak. A couple of items just before I hand it over to Jean to do the closing. I just want to point out that a number of the people have left messages in the chat or sent messages to the panelists about keeping up with updates on the International Center for Academic Integrity website. So we encourage all the attendees to check out the site under initiatives for the day of action to learn more about what's coming up. And I will pass it over to Jean, who is going to do the closing. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Amanda, and thanks very much, Thomas. I don't know if you can make me host again, please. And just want to give you thanks again for your generosity and your time, and for your patience in order, and not only to you, for all the audience, for the initial troubles. And I just want to also share with you that at the end of this week, we will have a Latin American conference that will be all online and all translated into English. So you guys can attend also. Thomas will be there, Amanda will be there, Paul Sopcock, and more than 25 experts from around the world. About 30 workshops, conferences, presentations, and posters will be on this conference. I think we have a very rich program, and you all are invited. And with that said, I just want to thank you again for your time, and I'm gonna add in the chat section the link to the program for these conferences, and yeah, that will be translated both into Spanish and English, so that would be a good thing. And thanks very much for your attendance, and you will find the presentation, the PDF document, and the video on the ICAI's website. Thank you very much, Thomas. Thank you very much, Amanda, and have you all a good day.
Yeah, thanks everyone.